Canadian Nuclear Laboratories' proposal for a near-surface disposal facility, or NSDF, is a responsible solution for low-level waste that will be generated from the cleanup mission at Chalk River. Let's move this environmental solution forward. Say yes to NSDF. Visit the Virtual Visitor Centre at engagewithcnl.ca/NSDF to learn more and how you can support this initiative. We encourage you to have your say.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Construction Record Podcast. I'm digital media editor Warren Frey, and with me today I have
Danish Yusuf, founder and CEO of Zensurance.
And we're here today to talk about the Canada Digital Adoption Program, and more to the point, what your expertise in that and in adopting digital tools for smaller organizations, as opposed to, bigger organizations can spend a lot of money and get all the digital tools they want. It's sometimes a little more challenging for smaller companies, but from what I can tell, and you're going to tell us more, the government is actually trying to assist smaller companies and medium-sized companies with becoming more digital. So let's take it from there. What, in broad strokes, is the Canada Digital Adoption Program?
Absolutely. First off, thanks for having me. The CDAP, the Canada Digital Adoption Program, is one of many different grant programs the government has to help small businesses. This one is specifically around growing and boosting the digital presence of small businesses. There's two streams in it. One is for the really small businesses, and one is for not that small, but so 500,000 revenue and more. The smallest can get up to $2,400 towards growing their digital presence. So think making a website or enhancing search engine presence. And the other stream, the boost stream, that's for businesses with 500,000 in revenue or more. They can get up to 15,000 as a grant, a loan of up to 100,000 from the BDC, and they have a wage subsidy program in there as well. And that's around adopting new systems and procedures or a new customer relationship management product or something like that. So they've got the grow and the boost, and together it's about $4 billion in grants.
Okay, and what's your own personal experience in going digital with your own company's Zensurance?
Zensurance was born digital. We serve small businesses and we offer them up commercial insurance fully online. So we were born with a website and a lot of automation. And it's been a great experience, very rewarding to see the growth of our business as we've invested more and more in digital tools. I mean, we started as 2 people, we're now 200 people. We were quite well set up when COVID hit because we were so used to working online and not offline. In fact, maybe 6 months before COVID, we had a customer actually walk into our office and ask some of our staff, "Hey, I'd like to buy insurance." And none of us really knew what to do because we'd never met a customer in person. And so we just sat them by one of our laptops and said, "Here's Zensurance.com, apply for insurance." And the person applied and they bought insurance and they walked out with a policy. But in COVID, we don't do that. Everything's remote. And so we were well set up for that.
Okay, and I guess every business is probably different depending on what you're selling and a myriad of other factors. But what are common things digital wise that small business should invest in, and where are there some parts where they're just chasing a trend and they shouldn't get tempted by it?
I think the first thing any business should do is clearly define what their objective is and who their target customer is. Everything depends on that. And you have to have a clear view on this before you can figure out where to deploy the funds marked for digital. For example, both my parents are buyers of auto insurance. They will never buy it online. They will always talk to a person. So if the broker they deal with makes a website and allows people to buy insurance online, it'll be wasted on my parents. They'll never use it. Yep. And so every business has to figure that out. Another example in the construction industry might be a custom home builder. Right, that's a very much a hands-on transaction. You're spending a lot of money. You want to meet the person and deal with them in person. However, there might be a budgeting tool that you might like to say, will I buy limestone or will I buy brick? Will I buy X or Y? And it helps you plan for your budget. That could be a very interesting tool. So it really just depends on what your objective and your target customer. That's one. Second, then evaluate the skills you have in-house in order to deliver on those objectives. Do you need to hire? Do you need to outsource? What do you need to do in order to deliver on that? Then you define the metrics by which you can measure progress against that objective. It could be revenue growth, it could be cost, it could be customer satisfaction, whatever you want to achieve using these digital tools, define it very clearly and see how you're going to measure it. And then understand the risks. Might you be stretched too thin? Do you alienate existing customers if you're taking this other route? Do you have the right skills? We track cybersecurity risk quite closely, and I'm sure we'll get to it, but does this expose you to new risks? Once you have those things clearly defined, then you figure out, hey, is it a new CRM that I need? Is it a marketing tool I need? And so I'd say for every business, start with those few things first.
And there are always areas where digital technology saves a company money. Like, for instance, working remote, none of us are in an office. So there's a bunch of stuff you're saving money on, although there's a balance to that as well with leases. But anyway, my point being, what are some areas where digital technology allows for a clear savings that makes it an advantage to adopt?
So if you're in a business where there's a lot of back office transaction, so you're filing papers, you're scanning, you're attaching, there's a really clear stream of eliminating the paper. Mm-hmm. And that might be getting customers to fill forms in online rather than via a check or via paper. That's a very common thing. Second, most businesses will accept payment in some form. You might think that credit card is expensive, and I agree that the 2 or 3% you pay is quite a bit, but there's been a lot of estimates saying if you accept payment by check and you do those invoices, it can cost you up to $50 per payment transaction because of the manual cost of reconciliation. That's another very standard thing. Move to something like a QuickBooks or a Xero, which allows you to do everything electronically. Two things there. Third, more on the effectiveness side rather than just the cost side, is investing in a good CRM, a customer relationship management tool. So you can make sure that if someone that comes to your site and decides not to buy, that you can capture that and follow up 3 months later or 6 months later. Maybe you'll convert them then. And so those are two quick examples of on the cost side and one on the revenue side that I think, regardless of what type of business you're in, all three of those would apply.
Okay. And you mentioned security, and small businesses have less resources by definition to draw from for security than, say, a larger firm. So what paths do they have for security, and how does insurance work into that? Because I'm sure there's going to be moments where they get breached and they have to have insurance for that.
That's right. This is a particularly interesting point these days when, based on what's happening in the world, there's a lot of projections of more and more cyber crime. Mm-hmm. I think you're absolutely right. Larger businesses have access to much more sophisticated tools for managing their cyber risk. They are also bigger targets, and so with the resources come, the higher likelihood of being attacked. But on the small side, the cyber insurance policy that is available in the market, and we also sell it, there's two parts to it. There is the traditional elements that you'd expect from an insurance policy. You get hacked and you need money to repair your servers or pay a ransom. So there's that part of it. And most, but not all, policies have a services element. So this would be something like you think you got attacked, but you're not sure. You need a consultant or an advisory service to help you figure out what actually happened. Maybe you need some brand management services to make sure your brand name isn't tarnished. Maybe you need all kinds of advisory services to bring the business back. That element is a critical part of any cyber policy that you buy and puts you almost on par with the larger businesses because you get access to all of these sophisticated consultants. So I'd say get the cyber policy. Don't cheap out on this, especially these days. You get a proper policy made for your business and make sure it has the traditional insurance side of it as well as the services element.
Okay. And in terms of the construction industry, what, in your experience, have you seen as one of the biggest impacts on a small business when they adopt digitally? What benefits do they see, and what changes do they see that they didn't see coming?
There's a lot of great examples of Canadian-made technology for the construction industry that makes a huge difference. I'll give you a couple of examples, and they apply to big swaths of the construction industry. There's a Toronto-based company called Finance It. I know a bunch of the people there. Let's say you're a construction contractor and you want to help a customer renovate their kitchen, and it's $50,000. In the traditional world, you let your customer find the money, be it a bank loan or off the credit card. But this digital tool that any contractor can adopt allows them to facilitate the loan to their customer such that they can pay the contractor to do the renovation. So this is an example of a revenue generating tool. And it's built into a CRM, so you can manage all of your customers and offer them this financing. Or if you're a contractor and you need that extra bit of drywall, rather than having to drive to Home Depot, a company called RenoRun, off their app, you say, these are the supplies I need, and they deliver it right to your spot. So there's lots of interesting things. Depending on the problem you're trying to solve, these are widgets you can just plug into your business, and they solve really critical problems depending on the business you're in.
Mm-hmm. And finally, we kind of touched on the COVID and changes, but what societal changes from the pandemic and otherwise have pushed people towards digital adoption, and how those affected your business?
3 years ago, if you asked me how fast will digital adoption be, and this is for Zensurance, where our whole business model relies on digital adoption, I would have said it's still another 5 or 10 years before we get to where we really want to be. COVID just accelerated that trend where almost everything is happening online, and every customer expects, or I should say, most customers expect some form of online interaction, and almost every employee expects some level of remote working capability. Mm-hmm. So not only has it become the norm to be able to interact with customers online, but also your employees. And for us, we've had to adapt many things that we just didn't think of before. For example, culture building activities. For us before, it was always in the office, you have snacks, drinks, and you do some sort of a full company activity. That we had to completely rethink. So everything like that has to be done online or in a hybrid manner. Every element of our business we've had to rethink. And I think as any business adopts digital technologies, they want to think about how are they going to serve the customers better? How are they going to serve their employees better? And to the extent they have investors or owners or partners, how are they going to serve them better? And there's very interesting tools for all of your stakeholders.
Okay, and I guess finally, if people are interested in Zensurance or in the Canada Digital Adoption Program, where should they go to find out more information?
If it's Zensurance, you can find us at zensurance.com, or you can look for me on LinkedIn, Danish Yusuf. For the government program, right on the government's website. I've looked at it myself. You just look it up, the government website. They have all of the requirements. They have a really simple application form as well. And I'd also encourage people, if you're looking at this program, there are other programs out there that the government has. Look for those as well. They provide a lot of support to small business. Of course, they can do more, but there's many programs out there that they could look at.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us, Danish.
Thank you for hosting me.